Fire Sword, Chapter 19. Tears of the Soul, Part the First. Kirito opened his eyes within his dream. Not that it made much of a difference. Most of the world around him seemed to be made of darkness. It somewhat reminded him of the time that he had fought against Sugo in the original Alfheim Online. So which Dark King do I have to face down this time? Asuna rubbed her husband's hand nervously, praying that he would be okay. His brow was bent downward as if in concentration, but he wasn't muttering in his sleep like Yui had been. "Please come back soon, Kirito," she murmured softly. "Mommy?" Yui asked as she sidled closer to her mother in the cart that they rode in. "Is Daddy gonna be okay?" "Yeah, you know Kirito," Asuna said with a forced smile. "He never backs down from a challenge if it means he can save us." The girl hummed as she looked at her mother's face. "Daddy is pretty strong. I don't remember much of what was in that dream, but I do know it wasn't very nice. It kind of felt like Cardinal was watching me again, waiting for me to disobey." "Well, the Cardinal's dead now," Asuna said firmly. "You don't need to worry about it anymore, honey." "I know, but that's the feeling that the dream gave me," Yui said with a shudder. "I wonder what Daddy is feeling right now." Seems to be some kind of a curse that feeds off your nightmares," Henry muttered as he stared at an old book in his hands. "Nasty magic. No wonder I never learned this spell. There's no blood involved in it." "Mommy," Yui said as she hugged Asuna tighter. "I'm thankful to Mr. Henry for saving me, but why does he have to ride with us?" "I'm the one responsible for trying to find a way to save your father, that's why," Henry said as he closed the book and reached for another. "He might beat off the curse by himself, but I need to have something ready just in case." "There's no might about this," Asuna said firmly. "Kirito can beat this. He has to." Henry didn't look up from his book, nor did he say anything in response. "We're in the clear," Sayuri said as she approached Crom and Robin. "The turncoats only put up a show of trying to prevent our escape." "We may be out of their range, but we're not in the clear yet," Robin said with a heavy frown. "We've got to distance ourselves further away from Walhart, which means assaulting Yanfei first. And we've got two of our tacticians out of play, one missing, the other in a coma. I don't like this." "Hey, don't you always have an ace up your sleeve?" Crom asked with surprise. It was so unlike Robin to be so down in the dumps like this. "I do, but I'd really rather avoid using it just yet," Robin admitted. "I will if I must, but I need to see what kind of terrain we'll be using to fight them, so I can see what kind of advantage I can give us." "Sayuri, where is a place we could fight Yanfei's men where they would be at a disadvantage?" Crom asked the princess. "Well, there is the demon's Ingle." She pointed up at the mountain that belched smoke. "But only the foolhardy would dare trespass on the property of the wicked fire god that lies within it." "I've been called foolhardy before," Robin said with a sudden grin. "But the only ones that ever called me that were the ones that my tactics demolished. They weren't calling me that for very long afterwards." "Wait, so do you mean to say—" "I do," Robin nodded. "Spread the word. We're heading to Demon's Ingle to fight Yanfei. Make sure that one of the warriors of Alfheim goes on a scouting trip." Lifa was the one to be sent out on the scouting mission, as she was the fastest flyer with Kazuto out of commission. Even if he were awake, it would be up for debate as to who was really the faster of the two of them. He was definitely faster with a blade, but her flight speed was hard to match. When she returned, she immediately reported to Crom and Robin. "There's plenty of room to fight now, but we have a serious problem if we wait much longer," she said. "What would the problem be?" Robin asked. "I made sure to check on the lava levels in the volcano itself, and I noticed that it's rising," the dark-haired sylph answered. "If it keeps going at this pace, we'll have an issue with being able to know where we can move through ahead of time. The lava will spill into the side of the mountain itself. We'll be confined. Pegasi and wyverns won't even be able to move above the rivers that'll be coming, because they could have bubbles inside, waiting to burst." "That does punch a few holes in the plan," Robin muttered with a frown. "Can we still pull it off, though?" Crom asked hopefully. "Yes, we can," Robin nodded. "We just need to be more careful." "One more thing, sir," Lifa said. "Something you should know about the nature of our flight powers. Without any direct sunlight or moonlight to power our wings, we can't stay airborne for any more than 10 minutes. I kind of cut it close when I was flying in the volcano because all the smoke in the air was preventing my wings from absorbing the sunlight." Does this affect your ability to cast spells, though?" Robin asked with concern. "Not at all," Lifa said with a shake of her head. "I had to cast Elwind a few times so I could clear the air enough to breathe. I didn't have a problem." "Very well," Robin nodded. "I'll probably just ask you to stay on the ground unless it becomes absolutely necessary then. Is there anything else?" Yenfei's forces are approaching, so if we're going to go ahead with this half-baked scheme of yours, we better get a move on, Leafa said as she turned heel and went to go find the cart holding her brother. The two men watched her go before Crom asked, "So, Robin, what's the plan?" "We get out of the frying pan," Robin smirked, "and get into the fire." Crom finished with a chuckle. I should have known. Kirito looked down at himself. Was interested to see that he wasn't dressed in his clothing from that he was dressed from his old clothing in Aincrad. His swords were even on his back, much to his relief. The only thing that continued to frustrate him was that he couldn't see anything else. "They called you the Black Swordsman," a mocking voice rang out from behind him. "I should have thought you enjoyed the solitude of darkness." Kirito whirled around, but he could not see who had spoken. "Darkness had its place in my life," Kirito replied firmly. "I don't need it anymore. I have better things to surround myself with." "Yet you take pride in the pet name they gave you," the voice shot back. "It would seem darkness still holds a place in your heart." "Everybody has a dark corner inside of them somewhere," Kirito replied, his voice still even. "I just don't bother to acknowledge mine anymore." "Don't you?" The voice chuckled an ominous sound. In front of Kirito, a light began to shine, so he focused on it, hoping there might be a way out. What he saw next made him wish he hadn't looked at all. There was a group of teenagers all entering the room with a single chest in front of them. Most of them were armed with long-handled weapons, but a young boy in the back had only a one-handed sword on him. The moonlit black cats, he thought as he reached out to them on instinct. An alarm went off, and the children reacted with shock as the treasure chest disappeared before their eyes. Each one of them drew their weapons and tried to defend themselves. Kirito tried to run to them, but no matter how fast he ran, they got no closer and no further from him. There was nothing he could do. The mace wielder was the first to fall. Tetsuo. Next was the thief. Ducker. Following his demise was the staff user. Sasamaru. And the last one of them to fall was the only girl. A beautiful young woman in the making. Her back was struck by a golem-like creature. She made eye contact with the boy one last time, saying something that he could not hear. But the man that had replaced the boy knew what it was that she had said now. "Thank you," she had said. "Goodbye." A shattering sound followed by a burst of blue and green shards, and the boy was alone. Sachi. Kirito watched the image fade away, his stomach clenching violently. What good were his swords, skills, power, if he couldn't protect those that mattered to him the most? "So you do still acknowledge the darkness," the voice returned, even more mocking than before. "Not only are you a failure, but a liar as well." "Such typical childish behavior." Kirito said nothing in response. The voice chuckled and said, "My, your daughter lasted much longer than you did. How did such a boy like yourself ever get a hold of such an adorable little girl? Not to mention that lovely wife of yours." Kirito stiffened. "Ah," the voice laughed again. "I see I've touched a nerve. Well, once I'm done draining your life energy, maybe I'll pass on to her as well. Then I can finish off that irritating pest that carries the so-called divine magic of Naga." "If you touch my wife or my daughter, you bastard!" Kirito growled, drawing his swords. "You can be sure I'll kill you, even if it's from beyond my grave." The voice howled with laughter, the sound echoing throughout Kirito's dreams. "You can't defeat me, little boy," the voice giggled. "You can't even touch me. But I can touch you all I please, and I don't even have to lift a finger. I'll let your memories do all the fighting for me." Another light appeared before Kirito, though this time it was not a full memory. Instead, a single person was charging at him, armed with a thin sword, dressed in black with a skull mask. His red eyes gleamed brightly as he moved in to attack Kirito, who set his jaw and charged at him in return. Zaza. They exchanged a flurry of vicious blows, but Kirito couldn't seem to land a single hit on the Laughing Coffin member. "I beat him before, both as Zaza and Death Gun," Kirito thought as he deflected a stab from the murderer's sword. "Why can't I even hit him now?" "You lack the resolve to completely banish me from your memories," Zaza said as though he could hear Kirito's thoughts. "In here, I can't be killed unless you can forget me forever. But we both know that will never happen. You're just not that kind of guy, are you?" "But the curse will let you kill me, is that it?" Kirito growled as he shoved his enemy back, hard enough to give himself time for a breather. "Seems pretty cliché to me. Whoever designed this spell really has no imagination." "That's the point, swordsman," Zaza replied. "The spell doesn't require imagination, because the person it gets cast on is providing all the imagination it needs to kill them." "So my own memories end up being my downfall, huh?" Kirito muttered sourly. This is going to be even harder than I thought. It's going to kill you, one way or another, Zaza said, his sword coming up again. Even if you could somehow remember a way to defeat me, another memory will just take my place, and the nightmare won't end until you do. Remember a way to defeat you, Kirito repeated. What does that mean? Nothing. You'll live long enough to figure out, Zaza shouted, his eyes blazing red as he charged again. Time to die, swordsman! This chapter of Fire Sword. Mainly what I was trying to get across was that things would deviate a certain amount from the original canon, because up to this point it kind of, well, honestly, mostly felt like the story was just following the same path, but with the SAO characters thrown in there just to add in a few extra side quests, maybe make things a little easier for the Sheperds. And to a degree, that's still what happened in this chapter, but it's the first time that we see that instead of certain events happening to one of the Sheperds, it happened to one of the SAO gang instead. And everybody loves Klein, so if I was gonna kill somebody off, it was gonna be Klein. So like that would be I chose him because he's like the really gung-ho guy. He's willing to I think he's really willing to take one from the team despite all of his posturing, so it just made sense to me that he would be the one to take Basilio's place. I remember in the comments section nobody really bought it that Klein had bought the dust, and you know what, I wasn't really trying to write it that way, so I kind of understood that. But what I did leave people hanging on was Yui was put under some kind of curse, and I was trying to keep people guessing as to whether or not it was Grima that did it, or maybe I kind of hinted that Tharja might have done it as a revenge play against Kirito's family. But one of the things that got me was I think this guest reviewer, Lord Destroyer, he kept leaving comments like from here until like chapter 40 something about how Cordelia was going to kill me for taking Klein away, and I was like, well, Cordelia doesn't exactly have the best luck with these things, but it'll just make it so much better when Klein comes back, Some people were apparently a little upset about that. I remember getting some, according to Supersonic 64, I've got some of the reviews in front of me here. Apparently the cursed version of Zaza that Kirito fought in his mind was pretty freaking creepy. I'm like, great, that's what I was going for. So thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate that. And then Antec's Legendary Zoroark, one of my most long-time standing supporters, he was super hyped about it, and I always enjoyed his enthusiasm in these chapters, and just feedback in general and support from you guys really keeps me going on all this stuff. There would be no Fire Sword, there would be no Saiyan Tail, there would be no Star Sword, there would be no Red Swordsman without you guys. So thank you so much for just listening and for contributing your ideas and just feedback in general. It means the world to me. And on that note, I think I'm going to end this chapter video, audiobook, and I'm going to end this author's note. That's what I'm doing. But I'll see you guys next time, and thanks so much for waiting. I've had a rough couple of weeks. I actually, guess I'm not quite done yet, but I actually just finished recovering from a surgery that went really, really wrong. I was hardly able to walk for about a week, and I'm just as of yesterday feeling like myself again. I'm still a little bit tender, but doesn't hurt so much that I can hardly walk, which is why I've been a little quiet the last couple weeks. Normally I have 1 or 2 of these videos out each week, so I do apologize for that. I'll try to upload another video here, or 3 or so over the next week, trying to make up for the lost time. But again, thanks so much for you guys' support, and I will see you next time. Red Swordsman out.